And for those of you that have been watching and following all day long, it has been our best, most participated in Birds Give Back that we've had. In fact, in all of our giving days at Illinois State University. And we still have several hours to go before midnight. So we have a lot of exciting things that can happen. Just an update on where we are for those of you who've been following. We are at 2,412 gifts, and I bet that's gone up since I checked 2 seconds ago. And we have raised over $642,000 for the students and programs and people of Illinois State University. So this has been an amazing day. As we thought about this year's Birds Give Back, we knew it was really important for us to think about the unique situation that we have found ourselves in as a community this year, all of us, employees, faculty, students, especially. It's certainly not the Redbird experience that we all maybe have come to know and love exactly as what we've known in the past. And yet, I think all of us on here can probably share with you tonight some really amazing things that have come out of challenge and adversity. And so we're hoping to give you an opportunity tonight to hear directly from our students regarding the college life during a global pandemic, something that I think none of us have experienced. So it'll be an exciting thing to hear this evening. Couple of housekeeping items I wanted to let you know. We are going to be walking through this in a panel fashion, but you can submit questions. So if you have specific things you'd like to ask one of our students, please feel free to leave them in the Q&A or in the chat box, and we have some designated time at the end where we'll try to respond to as many of those as we possibly can. So what you all really came for is to hear from the students, but I do want to start out by introducing you to our fabulous moderator. We have Miss Danielle Miller-Schuster. Danielle is a proud Redbird. She's earned 3 degrees from Illinois State University. She currently serves as the Assistant Vice President for the Division of Student Affairs, and she has a deep love for Illinois State. I can safely say I don't know many people that love ISU and have more passion than Danielle, so I can't think of anybody better to guide us through our conversation tonight than Miss Danielle, so take it away.
Thank you so much, Jillian, and welcome everyone. I often say that it's a great day to be a Redbird, and today, of course, is no exception. We get to spend time with our students while simultaneously thousands of students, alumni, donors, and friends to the university are actually making gifts to help provide our Redbirds with the experience that we all value so much. So thank you for joining us tonight to hear from this amazing panel of students. And now for the moment that you've been waiting for. Let's meet our Redbirds. To get us started, I'll ask each student to simply introduce themselves and share a bit about their background. Let's get started with Grace.
Hi, everybody. My name is Grace Bartlett. I am a senior here at Illinois State, and I'm majoring in history and social sciences education. I have 2 minors in anthropology and WGS, and currently I am student teaching at University High School, teaching a current issues class, junior and senior level, and a sophomore U.S. history class.
Awesome. Thank you, Grace. Jack, you're up next.
Hey, everyone. My name is Jack Rogers. I am a freshman here at ISU. I'm a nursing major. I'm from New Berlin, Illinois. I went to New Berlin High School, and yeah, I'm happy to be a Redbird. So,
thanks, Jack. Jalen?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jalen Jones. I'm a senior at ISU. My major is political science, and I have a minor in human development. I am a senator on the Student Government Association, and I am currently in the process of applying to grad school for higher administration.
Excellent. Thanks, Jalen. And Skylar.
My name is Skylar Hughes. I'm currently a junior at ISU, and I'm studying recreation administration. I'm also working on completing my minor in information systems, and I'm a part of Redbird Gaming.
And to round out this amazing panel, Kendi.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kendi Hilliard. I'm a West Texas neighbor. So I'm from a little small town in Texas. I'm currently a volleyball player here at ISU. So I like to call myself a sophomore athletically and a senior academically. I am the vice president of the Student Athlete Advisory Council here, and I'm also a member of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated.
Excellent. Thanks, Kendi. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started with our first question. And of course, this is for the whole panel. One of the biggest changes that we've seen due to the COVID pandemic is the movement to remote classes. So what has it been like to make that transition, and how have your instructors worked to keep classes engaging?
I can start. So my professors at the beginning of this, so last semester or last spring, they were really flexible with how they were giving us work and kind of adjusting to what they thought we were capable of during this pandemic. So it's been definitely a challenge, but it has been nice to have professors who are willing to work with us and willing to reach out to us if they think we are in need of help.
Thanks, Grace. Others?
I'll definitely kind of piggyback off of what she just said. I'm an RPA major, so I'm in the rec management program here. And with our major being so hands-on, we're like having that ability. Like I know everyone in my class, and it's funny because we have group chat set up and everything. And it's weird when we're rec majors and we want to get to touch everything and want to experience just building those collaborative efforts. So our professors put us in breakout rooms, and it's normally like in a college experience, it's kind of like, ooh, I don't want to be in a breakout room. But with us all knowing each other, we're like, oh, I know Susie here, and I'm ready to do this breakout project or anything like that. So for my major, it's been kind of weird with everything since we're so hands-on, but like it's been a great experience because we're like still collaborative birds and everything.
Yeah, I can piggyback off that as well. Like Kendi said, in RPA, a lot of the activities we want to do are hands-on, and the pandemic has definitely kind of taken some of those opportunities away. However, for me specifically in gaming and esports, that type of industry in recreation, it's actually been somewhat of a positive experience because we engage and connect virtually. So this is kind of right up my specific alley. However, for a lot of the other RPA majors or the RPA students going into different industries, it's been very challenging for them, I know.
Being a nursing major, obviously there's a lot of science courses, that go into getting a nursing degree, and it's very difficult to like have chemistry labs or biology labs or anything like that when you're online, because you don't really get that hands-on experience that you need to be a successful nurse and a successful student. But thankfully, my professors have noticed that we're all struggling. Everyone's kind of in the same boat. And I've even had some of my professors take out finals just to like minimize stress for us, which was I really appreciated that. But yeah, my professors are doing the best they can, just like the students. And I think it's working out really good both ways.
Jalen, how's the experience been for you?
It's been an adjustment, but I think my professors have handled it very well. I think the responsiveness in terms of responding to emails has been very great. I think they've done a good job connecting students so that we can build those communities in our courses. I think political science is a major that definitely lends itself to be taught online because of the amount of reading that we have to do on our own. But it's nice to know that I can still connect with my professors and my peers when I need to.
Thank you all very much. So Jack, I have the next question for you. As a freshman, this is the only college experience you know so far. In fact, you were choosing your college during the pandemic. So how did this impact your journey specifically?
Well, it's kind of funny because I'd like to say that COVID is actually what allowed me to be here. When I first applied to the nursing program, I didn't get accepted just because my ACT score wasn't high enough or whatever the reasoning was. So I'd actually got into Illinois Wesleyan's nursing program. So I was planning on going there, but throughout the time that I was getting set up with Illinois Wesleyan, I was emailing the nursing department and my advisor at the time. And I just was like, if people are dropping out of the program because of COVID or anything like that, I'd love to fill a spot if you guys would have me. I think it'd be great. I would be so happy to be a Redbird. And after several months of persistence, they finally gave me a spot that had just opened up. So I was really, really fortunate in that aspect, but I don't think I would be here if it wasn't for COVID. So I guess I have COVID to thank for that. But
Wow, that is quite the testimony. And I can actually attest to the fact that Jack actually works in our office, the Office of the Vice President for Student Affairs. And we couldn't be more proud that you are a Redbird and you are exactly where you're supposed to be. So we're so glad you're here. Thank you for sharing that. All right, Skylar, you did mention esports and you are serving as Illinois State's esports president. How has the team impacted your personal experience during the pandemic? And how has the increasing need for obviously virtual interaction impacted the activity as a whole?
Yeah, so a little bit of background. My team, we formed 2 years ago, so prior to the pandemic. And at the time, we were just all strangers to each other who had a similar passion. From there, we've been practicing and also become closer as friends. They're now some of my 4 teammates are some of my closest friends at ISU. Um, and I just enjoy being around them. I enjoy going to practices. I enjoy competing under the ISU banner with them. And so connecting online and virtually has been one way for me to still maintain friendships, stay social, and really enjoy my time at ISU. And like I talked about earlier, the silver lining of the pandemic has been kind of the growth of esports and gaming, as people are looking for opportunities or looking for entertainment and other opportunities to stay connected. And that's one reason that we've seen such phenomenal growth as a club, is because we offer a great way for students to still do that and stay engaged.
Okay, so I have to ask, since I was just on, can you tell the folks that are with us a little bit about where you just came from and what we just experienced with the esports program?
Yeah, so the esports program is holding a Among Us tournament or Among Us event to raise money for the esports program here. We just got done playing with some VIPs in a 10-person match of Among Us. LJ was there and some other VIPs, and Reggie was there. We just are on twitch.tv/Redbird Esports, and they're still going on. It's from 6 to 8. So if anybody wants to check that out, they can check it out.
Thanks, Skylar. I know, you just mentioned the social aspect of your college experience and how different that is today. So I know a lot of us out there are wondering, especially those that are tuning in to this webinar, about the social aspect of the entire college experience during a pandemic such as this. And so this question is for all of you. What do you all do to socialize safely? And then I know Jack, specifically with being a first-year student, you're living in the residence halls right now, so that might be a very different experience for you. So I'd love to hear from you about that. But how is this different than what you imagined?
Well, as Danielle just said, I do live in the dorms. I'm in Hewitt this year, and it's been tough. I'm not going to lie. It's been tough meeting people, just because I remember I helped my cousin move in here 4 years ago to Hewitt as well, and on move-in day, I remember everyone always had their door open, and everyone was just out in the hallways in each other's rooms, just meeting everyone, and that's just not how it looked for move-in this year, which was really sad. Thankfully, I've been able to just knock on some doors and say, hey, you want to go get food, or you want to come hang out, or usually I just meet friends that way. But nobody really ever goes to like different floors meeting people, just because we've been surrounded with the same people for, almost 2 semesters now. And also not having in-person classes really limits the amount of contact you can have with people. So I'm not going to lie, it has been tough, but I'm managing, and I have a good group of friends that I've met here on the floor so far. So I'm really fortunate for that.
That's good to hear. And I know that when you go into the Bone Student Center, there are students all over. And it's really that opportunity to kind of get out of the residence halls or your apartments and just have a place where you can come, get a bite to eat, socialize, and engage with others. And obviously in a very safe environment where all of the guidelines are being followed. So I appreciate your vulnerability and what that experience is like, because I know a lot of folks on the call who are alums had a very different experience when they were obviously living in the residence halls. So others, can you kind of talk about the social experience for you?
Yeah, so I am lucky that I was able to kind of make those connections prior to this whole event, I guess. So I've made really good friends within my major, and then I also have another friend group that I met while I was living in the dorms. So with both of those groups, we have group chats, and we're able to kind of keep up with each other that way. But we also Zoom with each other, and we'll have paint nights or something. We've done that before. Or there's also Jackbox. I don't know if anyone's played that, but you can play on your phone, and that's been really fun to still be able to connect and hang out with people, even if it's virtually.
Thanks, Grace.
Just to kind of like piggyback off of her, I kind of mentioned it earlier, like we have group chats in my major because you're like, unlike Jack, I was here a couple semesters prior and I honestly have my team. So I'm traveling with them pretty much 24/7 and seeing them like every day. So I have them, and then like we mentioned earlier with the Bone Center, I can meet my sorority sisters there or anywhere to eat. So I still do have that social aspect. So I think with COVID, just like the social guidelines and everything like that, that's been hard, but as long it's all about how you make it and how you see it as a challenge, and if you're seeing the glass half empty or half full. So
That's very true.
I know
Heather?
for me and a lot of our club members, we communicate via Discord, which is an application very similar to how Zoom operates. So we'll do a lot of conversing online over just Discord, and that's how we stay in touch. And we'll do games similar, like Grace said, Jackbox, things like that. We'll do casual games, but also we'll be competitive too. But that's one way for us to stay involved.
Great. Thank you all for sharing. So my next question is for Jalen. I understand that your goal is to one day work in student affairs, and I can highly recommend it as a profession. So what lessons has the COVID pandemic experience taught you about the type of support that students need to be successful? And then how has student affairs helped you this year?
I think student affairs has helped me a lot. I think the support that I learned that students require is definitely one that's adaptable. We have to adapt. We've had to adapt this semester as well as last semester, meeting students where they are. You know, for Welcome Week, I know we were driving around in a cart. You know, we were pulling up to students while they were just walking. So it was truly going to where students are, the spaces that they can convene in, and connecting with them in that way instead of just waiting for them to come to, you know, an area that we're located in. So I think that's what I learned about when it comes to COVID. And I've also learned that students, they're willing to, you know, engage. If you have events, they're willing to go out. So all it takes is that planning, and students will engage. So it's been amazing, and student affairs has helped me a lot as well. The support has been amazing. Everything they've done for students this year has been amazing. I felt like compared to being a freshman and not having to live through a pandemic, compared to now, I think it's been pretty incredible what's been able to be done in terms of events. And I'm really proud of the way the school has handled things, for sure.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. I hope you can all see in the chat, especially our panelists, all of the outpouring of support and praise that you all are getting out there. In fact, it's kind of bittersweet for me. The reason I'm in the field of student affairs was my mentor, Jane Reggio, and she's actually on here tonight. And this was a couple decades ago when I first met her. And she actually said, I'm really impressed with all of your abilities to adapt and adjust and to find the fun in the moments. And so that's really to all of you for everything that you've been able to overcome. And so you should be extremely proud of yourselves. I know that I am, and she is too. All right, let's move to Grace, obviously, and you kind of talked about the fact that you have been student teaching during the pandemic. So tell us about that experience and how it is preparing you to lead your own classroom.
Yeah, so I was lucky enough that I got the internship at U-High. So this is a year-long internship compared to just a semester that I would have gotten if I hadn't applied for this program. So how that works is I was still taking 5 classes last semester, and then this semester I transferred to being fully student teaching. So it was nice last semester because I was still in the classes that were kind of preparing me for student teaching. So Dr. Norian, one of the history professors in the department, really helped us, and helped me especially kind of visualize what an online classroom would look like. So she brought in teachers of all different subject areas, and so I was kind of able to see what other methods I could use in the classroom. So then this year I'm in hybrid at U-High, so that means half my students are in person and then half of them are online. So at first, this was definitely a challenge. It was really hard to kind of navigate all of those things, but definitely a process, flexibility, getting used to new environments like this. But one thing that I've found that has kind of uplifted me or is encouraging me every day is the connection that I'm able to still make with students. So despite, that barrier of being online, I can still connect with them if we're doing a mental health check-in or through material that they are specifically interested in. It's nice to still get their feedback and see that they're enjoying what we're doing still. Otherwise, yeah, it's been definitely a unique experience, but I'm really grateful that I was able to have different modes of teaching. So we started remotely, and then I transitioned to hybrid, and then hopefully we'll be going into 4 days a week in person. So I'll have experience in different modes. So that'll be nice as I go to next year, because who knows what it's going to look like. So yeah, I've been really, really grateful for what ISU and UHI have brought me.
Oh, I think you're going to be ready for anything and everything as you move forward. And I can't underscore enough how important it is as an educator to have that connection with your students. And so I really appreciate you sharing that. And it takes all forms and in all different ways. And so, your tenacity and your ability to be able to do that and to adapt and use different kinds of modalities is going to be so important into the future. So I'm excited about what your future looks like, Grace. All right, well, this next question is for all of you, any of you who would like to answer. We obviously know that a lot of people have been personally impacted by COVID, either from their own family members who have become ill or even just the economic impact that the pandemic has caused. So have any of you experienced the personal trials due to the pandemic, and how have you been able to overcome them?
I can start again. So I have had, my dad got COVID over Thanksgiving break. So I had to stay with my roommate who's from the same hometown, and I had to get my wisdom teeth out. So I was so grateful that her and her family welcomed me into my home, or in her home, so that I was able to still get my teeth out. And then over Christmas break, both of my grandparents got sick with COVID. So that was probably the most stressed I've been about this, just because they're older, and they were both in the hospital. So it was really hard to know that they were struggling and that I couldn't go see them because of those restrictions. But they're both okay now. They're both home. So that was definitely a sigh of relief once they were both back on their feet again.
Yes, my grandmother also got COVID. And being that she is a cancer survivor, it was very scary because she is a part of such a vulnerable population. We had to make sure we stayed away from her. We had to make sure that we truly stay socially distanced from her. And it was just difficult because my grandma's an extrovert. Like, she likes to, be out, and, it just adds to the loneliness that you see seniors going through already. So I just know that in her building, because she lives in a senior home, just her and her residents, they took it very hard. And then to, actually get COVID, she had to be even more isolated. So it was very tough to see my grandmother go through that experience, but she made it out. Like I said, she is a survivor and she's doing great now.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing.
I can go. We can speak on the economic side of this. So like Jack, I lived in the dorms when COVID initially hit. So last March, it's been a year. I had to move out of the dorms because of COVID and everything. And I had to put all my things into my storage unit because I am from Texas. So economically, that was a little bit harder because I had to pay for a flight back home and everything. So it's been a little challenging and a little tough, but like, you learn how to be adaptable and how to be resilient in everything with everything going on. So yeah.
I can kind of piggyback off Kendi with that. More on the academic side though. So in high school, like I was, I didn't particularly enjoy high school, but it wasn't the worst thing ever. I mean, I liked going to classes and seeing my friends and everything like that. And when it moved to online, I was actually taking classes from Lincoln Land Community College in Springfield. And at that time, everything else was canceled or online. So throughout the summer, I was just excited, hopefully, to be back in person my first freshman year of college. But that obviously did not happen. And because it's just been online, I'm a hands-on learner. And because it's just been online, I've lost a lot of motivation in school. So it's definitely hard to keep that up, but the more you're involved with the campus and the more you're involved with other students or groups that you're in, the more motivated you are. And I've learned to be more involved with the community at ISU, and that has really helped me out a lot.
Yeah, it definitely takes a whole nother level of motivation. Just moving from the remote learning to the way in which you get to be with your peers and to have those experiences socially, it is definitely a different experience for our students today. And I know that we've got questions popping in from the folks that are watching, and we're going to get to those in just a second. But I want to ask Kendi kind of our last targeted question here, as it relates to your personal experience as a student athlete and how this pandemic has really impacted your competitive experience, which is very different from obviously the years before. And how have you been able to maintain your routines and your efforts to continue your love for volleyball?
Yes, ma'am. Great question. So, as many know, volleyball season is predominantly in the fall. So right now, my normal schedule would be 6 to 9 a.m. I would be doing practice, weights, conditioning, and then after that, I have class all day. But now with the pandemic, my classes are a bit weirdly scheduled, so I'll have a 10 a.m. class or in a 2 p.m. class, and then practice from 4 to 6. And with the fall being predominantly where we play and where we travel, it was a bit weird because we had a 9-week session of just like learning and teaching the freshmen what our systems are and how this is kind of teaching them about how Redbird volleyball operates. And when we were forced to move our spring season or our fall season to spring season and then spring season to fall season, it gets a little chaotic because you're moving different parts in different aspects, and not even to mention you're competing for gym space as well because you have other teams. You have the men's basketball team, the women's basketball team, so everyone's trying to figure out their individual times, their weight. It's all intertwined in a mix, but I can speak from the COVID side. Before COVID hit, we were just starting our spring games and we played Northwestern. That was our first spring game. And then when COVID happened, we were sent home. And every morning we would get up as a team and do Zoom workouts every day, 5 times a week. And then we'll do like resilient training and to work on our mental toughness. Are we like letting the COVID affect us mentally to where when we do get that opportunity, which we hope for was that fall or this past fall to play, how are we going to respond? But unfortunately, we were moved to the spring, and now we're like forced to compete with the 18 other teams that we have here at ISU, which goes into my next point as being like the vice president of SAC, which is our Student Athlete Advisory Council. We're having to figure out when can we schedule a meeting of bringing everyone together from all 19 sports. And that's been a bit of an issue as well because I may be traveling for my games on Sunday and Monday, and track is going on their quest for another championship on Saturdays. And then you have men's basketball who plays during the week. So it's been a definite challenge, but you kind of like everyone's trying to figure it out too. And that's not even mentioning like COVID testing, because several teams, they get tested twice a week, some get tested once a week, it's a bit chaotic, but you've learned how to manage it eventually.
Well, there's definitely a special connection that I think Redbird Athletics has, and the teams that what they have together when when it's in a normal season. But I think that what you all will share as a result of having gone through this experience will be an even deeper connection. And what's interesting is it won't only be with your teammates on the volleyball team, but it's going to be, I think, across all the athletic teams, because you're all sharing in this experience together. Like you talked about, there's a whole bunch of give and take that comes with being able to try to figure out how do we as 19 sports come together and be able, to succeed at the highest level. And so, my hat off to all of you, because you guys have done an extraordinary job of doing that, on top of everything else, like you said, with your academics and your conditioning and all of that. It's amazing to watch you all do what you do day in and day out. So there's obviously been a lot of great conversations so far, but we definitely want to make sure we get to your questions out there. And so we've got quite a few. So I'm going to get started. And this is for anybody on the panel who wishes to get us started. What has been the most challenging part of this year for you? Personal, social, or academic?
For me, quite honestly, it's been a little bit of all three. As I kind of talked about earlier, with the motivation or not being able to meet new friends, it's a whole bunch of, it's not just a one thing that's hard to do. It's, COVID has made a lot of things hard to do. But, I'm managing, as I'm sure a lot of students are finding their own ways to do that as well. But for me, it's definitely a little bit of all three.
Thanks, Jack.
I think I definitely had the hardest time academically. Despite being able to succeed, I definitely learned that the way I learn is not necessarily, it doesn't lend itself to this format. I'm somebody that likes to sit in the front of the class. I like to connect with my professors a lot. I like to talk a lot in class. So I definitely know that I enjoy my synchronous classes more so than my asynchronous classes, because I get to have that interaction, 2 to 3 times a week. I get to know who my peers are. I get to interact with my professors a lot. And the way I've gone around that is, going to office hours and being able to, email my professors. But I definitely learned that I am somebody that likes to be in the classroom, and I like to know who it is that I'm learning from and the peers that I'm working with. And lucky enough for me, I've had professors that have found ways that I can, get that done. But I've learned that I definitely enjoy my synchronous classes more so than my asynchronous classes, for sure.
I'm seeing lots of head nods of others in the space saying the same thing. And I have to tell you, Jalen, I'm exactly like you. I would much prefer the face-to-face, so this would have been difficult. But others who were shaking their heads?
Yeah, so I agree with Jack that it's kind of been a combination of all three, and just learning how to balance all three also has been a huge challenge. I think at first I was definitely most worried about the academic side. So I put a lot of pressure on myself and also time into making sure that I was able to make a schedule and kind of line up everything that I needed to do. And then also kind of arrange time to talk with those professors if I needed to. But one things that I have learned, so flexibility has been something that I have totally expanded on. So I always thought of myself as a flexible person before this, but not until after March did I really realize what flexibility really was. So just one, for me, working with students and making sure that they're comfortable. And then two, also being aware that family situations might change, that someone might get sick, you have to adhere and adjust to that. So that's been a challenge. But another thing I've learned is that how to be okay with not doing 100%, because a 100% right now might not be what it was prior to the pandemic. So kind of coming to terms with that and being okay with that and giving yourself that grace.
Well said. You actually spoke about what goes into really the next question that someone asked, those skills that you've been learning throughout this pandemic. So what skills have you developed over the last year that you believe will help you in your careers as a result?
I know for me personally, a couple of the skills that I've definitely improved on throughout the pandemic has been organization. I like she said, she thought she had that skill set before, but then when the pandemic hit, it's like a whole different thing. So for me, growing in the way of organization and also adaptability, being flexible. Really, this wasn't anything we were really prepared for, and still trying to be successful and accomplish all the goals that we set out to do. And then when we get hit by this, still trying to achieve those, it takes a lot of flexibility and adaptability. And those are skills that I think I'm going to be able to leverage later on in life. And I hope that I can use those. So
I have no doubt that you will. Others?
I would say one of the biggest things I've learned is to not expect anything to happen, because if you're expecting something to happen and it doesn't happen, then you're going to be a little bit lost. And I can directly relate this to nursing. For example, somebody that's working as an emergency room nurse, an emergency room surgery nurse, you never know what's going to walk through the door that you have to operate on. So I feel like that's definitely the skill that I've learned is definitely going to help me out in nursing in the future.
Very true. It's almost like you can expect the unexpected at this point, right?
I can go next. I can speak on the whole delegation. That's kind of what I've learned, as well as just like reaching out to administration about what we're seeing as student athletes. And that may be because of my position as vice president, but I feel like I'm more willing to go to administration and say, hey, the student athletes need this, or student athletes are looking for this. And especially when we're talking about like social justice issues, we've learned a whole lot this past summer. And what are we doing wrong, or what are we doing right? And how can we use that to propel the game changing for the current Redbirds, former Redbirds, and future Redbirds? So that's just been a really nice challenge of just learning even my history as being an African American female. And that's just been a really breathtaking experience, because you learn something new every day. But I definitely would say it's all about delegation and who you know, and like, are you doing the right things of changing your culture around you, and like just making sure everyone is provided with a new perspective of how we think about issues moving forward.
So I see in the chat, Dr. Aja Holmes is out there. She's a two-time alum of Illinois State University. And I love what she says. She says, I know that this has been a hard year for each one of you, but you are all rising to the occasion. And it's people like Aja and everybody who's part of this viewership that is here to support you. And so we appreciate all that you guys are sharing, and just know that there are so many Redbirds out there that are cheering you on every step of the way. Even if you can't see us, we are definitely there for you. So question 3, what programs or services have you found most helpful during this very unusual year on campus?
I could just speak on, maybe not specific, but I would say for student athletes, just to reach out to more of campus, of like making those connections between our major friends, people like Danielle and Miss Jamie and Chris and everyone. I think we can do a better job of like making those connections and making those relationships known, that we are together rather than like two different entities. So I think once we establish that moving forward, I think overall Illinois State will be a more inclusive and just think differently about both sides.
I could not agree more.
The services that I've utilized the most throughout this pandemic is definitely the counseling and health services. I have found this to be a very stressful time. I found myself obviously grieving, the loss that many have experienced, even though it hasn't directly affected me. I've just felt that. I felt it in the air. And I decided to outsource, utilize the counseling services that we have available to us. And it really helped. It really helped to connect with other people, figure out ways to better manage my anxiety, because that was taking a toll on me for sure. So I'm so grateful for those services that were available to students, because we weren't just dealing with the pandemic, like Kendi touched on. We were dealing with, the Black Lives Matter protest. We were dealing with the election. That was a heavy thing to have go through as well. So counseling services definitely they definitely came through this year for sure. So I'm grateful to have had that help.
Yeah, it's amazing all the different kinds of programs and services that have been available, and just how many students have appreciated kind of the outpouring of all of that being out there, especially from a health and well-being perspective. It has been incredibly important for you all to get the tools, the resources, and to connect with people across campus during your experience. I think there was someone else that was going to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to add that I have used the career services. So that was also really nice. I met actually with Renee Carnigan today. We went over my resume, and it was nice to kind of get a perspective of what looking for a job might look like in a virtual environment. So we've got the career fair next week. And so kind of went over interview etiquette for online and just making sure that I'm presenting myself best I can despite this barrier.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because not only are the programs and services different here at Illinois State, but the way in which you interact with employers, either for internships or for careers, looks completely different. So as you know, you might have been preparing for the last couple of years for what that would look like. You definitely had to change course, redirect, and start preparing for what that would look like online and in that virtual environment. It's been a completely different game changer as it relates to looking at career services for the future too, because we know that the virtual side and the face-to-face they're both working. And so I anticipate that will be something that will continue as kind of having a hybrid environment for our Redbirds as our employers are looking for our Redbird talent. All right, well, we're nearing end of time. And so I'm gonna ask, well, I guess first I just want to say thank you. You guys have been amazing. It is such an honor to be a Redbird myself, to be at Illinois State, and then to get to see all of you and to be part of your Redbird experience. And so I just want to thank you all for being part of this. You have definitely left a mark and a legacy at Illinois State. And you won't even realize that until you've graduated and you've started your careers. But I know that there are so many people out there tonight listening and thinking about kind of the experience that they had, especially on such a special day like Birds Give Back. And so one of the questions that's been asked, and I'm going to have this one be our last question, and I love the way that we're just going to kind of end on this positive note. And so what mark do each of you hope to leave on the campus before you graduate?
I can go first. I would like to be remembered as a game changer. It's kind of like a double play in a sense because I'm a volleyball player, but I want to be known as someone who never gave up and who was always relentless in making connections with as many people as possible and always leaving a mark that Illinois State volleyball has greatness, and that Illinois State University is great as well, because I think our university is such a hidden gem, and I think we have the capabilities of being so much more as like we continue to grow with current and past and future Redbirds as we keep coming forward. So as we grow, learn, I want to be the person who's kind of intermixed in everything. So I would like to become a game changer.
I'll go next. I would say I would like to be remembered as someone who has done a lot or as much as they can for the Illinois State community, whether that be the staff, students, any person that has any association with Illinois State. I just would want to be remembered as somebody who has reached out and helped the community in some way. Whatever way that may be, just in any way I could.
For me, I think I got very lucky. Esports and gaming was always a passion of mine, but I didn't think that it was something I could pursue. And ISU invested and kind of listened to the students and really helped us build a foundation. And we have one of the top esports programs across the country. And honestly, them supporting us and that mission is incredible because they were one of the first public universities to do that. And I think that all the hard work that we're putting in behind the scenes and also changing the stereotype of who gamers are, and like how they are. I think that's also another thing we want to accomplish and break because there are some negative connotations when it comes to them. So really the impact that I want to leave is kind of rewarding ISU for putting their faith into us and the program and really building it out. So we're very thankful and appreciative for what they've done for us, and we're going to keep working our butt off to grow and expand and make them proud. So.
I can go next. So I hope to leave ISU as one of the compassionate teachers that we have thousands and thousands of throughout the United States and the world, really. So I know that is one thing that ISU already strives to do, but I think as the first class that was pretty consumed in this Zoomiversity, that, it's still possible to create those relationships and connections to professors and students, despite what's going on. And I think the compassionate side is finding little victories anywhere you can. And I hope kind of instill that in my students too, that not everything has to be 100% victory if it's your best effort at that time.
As I graduate ISU to pursue my career in higher administration, what I hope to leave is one of being a team member, truly being one of the community, being uplifting and being optimistic and compassionate to others. I've tried to get involved in as much as I can while at ISU. I've tried to participate and grow and learn as much as possible, and I think I've done that. And with all of the tools I've gained from ISU, I hope to take that with me in my career and hopefully give back to students as much as those in positions of power have been able to give back to me. I've been so lucky to be here, and I wouldn't have gone as far as I have without the compassion that was shown to me. And I hope that I've been able to show that compassion to my peers. I hope I've been able to show that compassion with my coworkers, and I hope to be able to show that compassion throughout my life, because that's something that I grew in, and that's something that I'm proud to say I was able to spread around campus.
Well, that is wonderful. You all gave us a lot to think about and to learn from you. I feel like you're the students, and I feel like I learned something from each of you tonight and inspired me to get back at it and keep going. We're just so thankful to have had a chance to hear from you all. Danielle, thank you to you for helping to guide our conversations tonight. Thank you to everybody who logged on. We've had 40 people I can see that have hopped on here tonight and taken some time out of their evening. We have recorded this session because we know a lot of people are putting kids to bed and doing those things and would like to jump on and hear from our students. So we'll be posting it for others to be able to enjoy and listen to all of the great lessons that you've given us. I did want to wrap up by letting you know we've had quite an hour during Birds Give Back. Let me just say, we had issued a challenge at 7 o'clock. Some of you may have gotten that in your email, that if we reached 2,500 gifts, we would unlock a $250,000 commitment. And we have achieved that. So we are now sitting at over 2,500 gifts with several hours yet to go, about 4 in our giving day. And we are at over $900,000 raised for the university. So it's super exciting, big day to be a Redbird. I do want to let you know, if you haven't made a gift yet, or people who haven't, feel free to keep sharing it. If you go to birdsgiveback.illinoisstate.edu, you scroll to the bottom of the page, you'll see a list of some of our challenges that are still out there. So some of our departments and colleges still have challenges that we can unlock. Most of them are for participation. So any gift of any size helps unlock those challenges. The Multicultural Center is one that is getting very close. I think they have 5 gifts to unlock a nice big gift. College of Education has a great opportunity. College of Fine Arts, the Wansukian College of Fine Arts, and the School of Communication, to name a few. So get down there, check out the website, scroll to the bottom, and tweet, share, make your gifts, and encourage others to help us finish strong. We might be able to surpass 1 million yet tonight. We'll see if we can unlock some good challenges. So thank you to everyone for taking the time, for being a part of Birds Give Back, and for a part of this wonderful panel. We hope you all will have a wonderful evening.